It's not uncommon to hear this profound question, especially from people who are not part of the church. Why are your magnificent and elaborately adorned churches so beautiful and ornate, with everything brilliantly shining as if crafted from precious, gleaming gold? Why not build something much simpler and use the substantial money saved to help the sick, the infirm, the impoverished, the destitute, and other vulnerable individuals, and so on? I've previously and partially addressed this very important question in one of my earlier videos. But now I'd like to impart to you the profound and insightful answer given by the venerable and revered Holy Martyr Onouphrius Gagariuk. First, the Holy Martyr Onouphrius cites two quotations from the Holy Scriptures. The first is from the Psalms, "O Lord, I have loved the beauty of your house and the place where your glory dwells." And the second is from the Gospel of John. 6 days before Passover, Jesus came to Bethany. There they prepared a supper for him, and Martha served, while Lazarus was one of those reclining at the table with him. Mary, taking a pound of pure precious nard ointment, anointed the feet of Jesus and wiped his feet with her hair, and the house was filled with the fragrance of the ointment. Then one of his disciples, Judas Iscariot, Simon's son, who was about to betray him, said, "Why was this ointment not sold for 300 denarii and given to the poor?" But Jesus said, "Leave her alone, she has kept this for the day of my burial. For you always have the poor with you, but you do not always have me." "Does it not seem to you," asks the Holy Martyr Onouphrius, "beloved, that Judas's reasoning is just? Indeed, wouldn't it have been better to sell this ointment and give the money to the poor?" Such words are often heard. People say, what is the point of all this church splendor? Expensive vestments, mitres, lighting, paintings. They say that what is needed here is simplicity and modesty, and that the money spent on all this splendor would be better given to the poor. At first glance, these words seem correct, but in reality they are false and hypocritical. Why do believers adorn their churches? Why do they care about the beauty of the house of God? By doing this, they express their love for God. It is true that the Lord does not need our offerings, but He is pleased by the goodwill and gratitude of our soul, which is expressed outwardly through our offerings. Why were many holy icons, for example, those of the Mother of God, especially the wonder-working ones, so lavishly adorned with diamonds and other precious stones? It was the soul of the worshipper, having received mercy from the Queen of Heaven, that brought as a gift to the Mother of God everything most precious from a human point of view, and in this way expressed, as much as it is possible to express outwardly, their love and gratitude to the Mother of God. In the same way, all the precious things brought by believers to the house of God, vestments, mitres, candles, valuable icons, all of these are expressions of our reverence and devotion to God and His saints, as well as our care for the church as the house of God. We should not judge these benefactors, just as the Lord did not judge the good woman, but rather praise and thank them, as the Saviour accepted Mary's gift. The Orthodox Church prays for all such people at every liturgy. Sanctify, O lover of beauty, the splendor of your house, you who glorify them with your divine power. But beloved, I want to point out to you yet another aspect of this question. Imagine a magnificent Orthodox church, spacious, tall, adorned with beautiful paintings, filled with light and with wondrous church singing. The divine service is being conducted according to the order, solemnly. And then, into this church, a ragged beggar enters. No one can drive him out of God's church, for the doors of God's church are open to everyone, to the rich and the poor, the learned and the unlearned, to women and to children. What do you think? Does not the beggar experience spiritual rapture and tenderness here? Where else could he find such a holy state of mind, if not in the holy churches of God? We must do everything in our power to ensure that the poor have both shelter and food. And on His dread judgment, the Lord will require an account from us for all these deeds. But have you forgotten that this beggar is not made up of just a body, but also a soul, and that he has spiritual needs as well? Yes, beloved, every one of our efforts, even the smallest, to adorn the house of God, serves to meet the religious needs of all people, including the poor. It is precisely in the magnificent temples of God that the human soul comprehends the greatness of God, becomes aware of its own poverty, the insignificance of earthly pleasures, and its kinship with heaven and all that is beautiful, and feels its unity with God. Here, in the splendid church, every ragged, hungry, sick, or poor person sees himself as a citizen of another heavenly city. And even here on earth, it is in the church and only there that the poor man sees his equality with all other believers, for they are all children of the same God. So, beloved, diligently adorn the houses of God, and by doing so express your love for God and bring joy to yourselves and to others. This is what the Holy Martyr Onouphry says. For my part, I would also like to emphasize that in this topic we are not talking about enriching the clergy. We are talking specifically about the beauty and splendor of the churches. A clergyman, a spiritual leader, may be here today and gone tomorrow, but the enduring church will remain for many centuries. And in fact, from ancient times, mostly only the magnificent churches built by our devoted ancestors have survived to this very day, because they built them far better than their own personal homes. They loved God so very much that they wanted to do the very best and most beautiful things for Him. I remember that once a thoughtful woman asked me a similar and intriguing question about church luxury. To explain it to her, I used the following comparison. If a young man who is truly and deeply in love with you were to propose, he would undoubtedly present you with a beautiful gold ring, wouldn't he? This gesture, a symbol of his affection and commitment, would certainly not come as a surprise or cause you any upset. Even though he could have made the same symbol by twisting some wire together, what difference does it make what it's made of? You could sell the gold ring, and feed the poor. But no woman ever truly says that. Everyone inherently understands that this profound sentiment is a genuine expression of deep and abiding love, because for the cherished individual we love, we invariably desire to offer the absolute best we possess, not merely the worst or the least significant. Isn't that how it should be? It would be strange if we offered the worst to the one we love. That's it. And of course, it is profoundly significant that even the Lord Himself does not reject this heartfelt and devoted expression of love from His followers. In fact, the very first sacred temple ever built and dedicated for the worship of God did not resemble a simple, humble shed. It was certainly not poor or lacking in any way. On the contrary, it was constructed with remarkable grandeur and was quite splendid, truly magnificent and awe-inspiring for its historical period and for the specific, often challenging circumstances in which it was meticulously designed and brought into existence. As for the various atheist memes about how, for example, the money spent on building the Cathedral of Christ the Savior could have been used to save many human lives, many thoughtful people, even long before my time, have consistently pointed out that for some inexplicable reason, atheists typically do not pose the same profound questions or offer similar suggestions when they observe a magnificent stadium, for example, or encounter certain other grand and imposing architectural structures. That is precisely the observation. Well, I won't continue this topic any further. In my opinion, Martyr Onouphry gave a completely exhaustive answer. Thank you for your attention. I wish you God's help, and may the Lord keep you safe.